All right, guys, so we're gonna come to our mat. We're gonna start in a seated position, sitting up nice and tall. Let's start with knees bent so we can work a little bit of those C curves, working on that pelvic tilt. We're gonna bring our arms forward nice and long without collapsing the upper back. So we wanna keep that upper back nice and flat, shoulders packed down and back. And then on the exhale, we're gonna tilt the hips back, roll back along the spine, just a little bit, creating kind of that C curve, that hollowing, dropping those shoulders down so you feel the lats engage as you pull those shoulders down and in, and then folding at the mid-ribs, curling and articulating forward, sitting up nice and long, stretching tall towards the ceiling. Exhale, hips tilt back. We find that C curve, we roll along the sacrum, roll back a little bit, pause for a breath as you reseat those shoulders down and in, feeling that tension in the underarm around the rib cage, and then forward fold. Nice C curve through the spine, and then we sit up long and tall. One more, exhale, tilt back. Rolling up the spine, piece by piece, sliding those shoulders down and in. And then exhale, fold, pulling abdominals, navel to spine, shoulders to the hips, and then we stack nice and tall, nice and long. Let's go to butterfly pose with soles of the feet together. And the knees are gonna press out, drop to the floor. We're gonna drop those shoulders down, lift the chest slightly, little extension through the mid-back, just below the shoulder blades, and chest lifts. But we're working that thoracic extension just at the bra line, below the shoulder blades, at the base of the pecs to lift the chest. And then back to neutral. And we hinge at the hip, coming forward, deepening that stretch through the inner thigh. And sitting long, sitting tall. Dropping those shoulders down. Let's bring right ear to right shoulder. Making this all about the neck and the head falling to that opposite shoulder. We come back to center. Lengthen the spine, stretch long. We go left ear to left shoulder. Stretching along the right side of the neck and the upper shoulder on that right side. And head comes back to neutral. Back into that thoracic extension. So we're drawing our abdominals in so we can protect that low back. And the chest lifts, dropping the shoulder blades back. Collarbone is spreading wide. We're feeling that tension just at the base of the shoulder blades, not in our low back. One more breath. And we return that spine to neutral. We hinge at the hip, drawing ourselves forward as the knees press down to the floor. Feeling those back extensors fire up the spine. And then we sit long, sit tall. Right ear to right shoulder. We stretch along the left side of the neck. Back to neutral. Left ear to left shoulder, right side stretching as we press that right shoulder down. And back to neutral. Legs are going to come nice and straight, reaching out long across your mat. Sitting up tall out of those sit bones. Let's point the toes, pull through inner thighs as we press and stretch the legs forward. Arms come to the front, hips tilt back. We curl and roll back, rolling along the spine, segment by segment. All the way back, the head touches the mat, the arms reach overhead nice and long without the ribs flaring. We pull down and in. And inhale, arms glide forward, folding at the mid-ribs, chin to chest slightly as we draw the abdominals up and in. And then we curl forward, rounding the back, stretching the spine. And exhale, tilt. Gliding those shoulders down. Curling along the back, ribs and abs knit in as we reach the arms long overhead, still stretching those legs out. Try not to let the legs relax, have them long and engaged. And forward fold. Curling and articulating, finding that really clean C curve as you roll up, shoulders over hips, lengthening the neck as you drop the shoulders down. And last one, exhale to tilt and curl back. Rolling along the spine, piece by piece, segment by segment, all the way down to the mat. Draw the ribs and the abdominals in as the arms reach long and stretch overhead. And inhale, arms come forward, lifting that head, neck, and chest, folding at the midribs, we curl. Curling and reaching and rounding, stretching forward nice and long. And we'll restack the spine, sitting up as tall as you can. Coming back onto those sit bones a little bit more. We've kind of tucked the hips under. We need to stretch the top of that hamstring. We'll open our stance of our feet and our legs to about mat width apart. Drawing the top of the foot back towards the shin so we can stretch along the back of the leg. The arms come forward. We bring chin to chest. We fold along the midribs. And we curl and roll forward. Reach through the feet. Take hold of the legs or the foot, grab hold, and then stretch forward. Nice and strong, nice and long, feeling that extra stretch travel up the back of the leg. And next exhale, we restack the spine. Stretching it long up that imaginary wall that you're seated up against. Sitting taller, sitting longer, and forward fold, chin to chest. Piece by piece rolls off that wall as you fold forward, stretch and reach long, still working that hinge at the ankle to draw the top of the foot back, deepening that stretch up the leg, and exhale, restack. Sitting up nice and tall, nice and long. And last one, chin to chest, forward fold. Curling and rolling forward, reaching out over the legs, stretching long. And curl and restack. Sitting up as tall as you can, stretching towards the ceiling. Arms are going to come up overhead, fingers are going to interlace. Reach those index fingers straight up towards the ceiling, and we hinge up and over to the right. Back to center, stretch up and over to the left. One more each side, plant the hips, plant the seat bones into the mat as you hinge from side to side. Last one to the left. And back to center. Arms come down by the side. Let's bend the knees. Place the feet flat to the mat. We'll scoot our hips forward and we'll curl and roll down. Moving into that nice pelvic curl. Finding our neutral spine, that little gap at the small of the back. We'll walk our heels towards our hips. Finding that alignment of the leg and the foot, and arms reach long towards the heels. On the exhale, the hips tilt back. We imprint, pull navel to spine. Find that hollowing, that C curve, and we curl and bridge up, pressing the knees forward towards the toes. And exhale to curl and roll down. Rolling along the spine, piece by piece, segment by segment, all the way through to the tailbone. Neck is nice and long, arms are reaching long. And we tilt back. Reaching the hips high, squeezing through inner thigh. And we fold and curl down. Moving through the back piece by piece. Planting the feet to the mat so you have that power transitioning up the back of the legs. And that connection to the floor through the shoulder blades and through the foot. Keep resetting the arms and the shoulders to ensure that we're not moving into a shrug. Pressing slightly down into the back of the upper arms to anchor better into the shoulder blade. Feeling those triceps connect to your mat. And one more. Curling and rolling down. We'll bring our knees to tabletop position. Keeping that space from leg to leg, we'll work our single leg extension. We'll reach that right leg out nice and long. And slow to draw back. Inhale to reach the left leg forward. Stretching the leg out, long out of the hip, but keeping that symmetry from the hips to the ribs to the shoulders as we reach out far. Feeling that tension, that pressure as if you're pushing something away with your foot, with your leg. Abdominals are drawing up and in. We're pulling up, zipping up from pelvic floor all the way up that chain through to the chest. And reach. One more each side. Long and strong. Good tension through the torso. Reaching out with that left leg. And we'll drop the feet back to the mat in line with the sit bones. Fingers interlace, we'll bring our hands behind our head. Working into our chest lift, we'll fold at the mid-ribs to lift the head, neck, and chest. Pause at the top, where hands are going to transfer to the back of the thighs. Drop those shoulders down, try to lift a little higher. Create more flexion along the mid-ribs. Hold the extra height that you've gained, and hands come back behind the head. And we anchor the tailbone as we curl and roll back. Shoulders are gliding down. We fold along the mid-ribs. We lift that head, neck, and chest. Arms come to the back of the thighs. We fold in a little deeper, anchoring the tailbone so we're not adding flexion across the low back. Arms return to your head, and we reset nice and slow. Not losing that tension or that neutral spine. Exhale to fold. Reach for the legs, lift a little higher, glide those shoulders down, stretch the neck, the hands return to the back of the head. And as we anchor the tailbone, we roll back. Weighting the hips, weighting the feet as the hands move to the legs, and you lift. Curling and rolling back, we'll go for one more. Press down through the sit bones, through to the tailbone. Fold and lift a little higher. Hold that extra height. Hands return to the back of the head. And we curl and roll back. Keeping our hands interlaced behind the head. Bring our legs to tabletop. Hug through inner thigh. We'll fold. We'll add that chest lift. We're going to go for our chest lift with rotations, keeping the legs in tabletop. And we exhale to twist to the right shoulder blade. And inhale through to center. Exhale, twist and tip onto that left side. Keeping that distance between the rib cage and the hips symmetrical and even from side to side. We twist. Nice smooth transitions, smooth rotations along the mid-ribs as we transfer from side to side. And we anchor those pockets. Try not to release the pressure from either hip as you twist. 2 more each side. And slow to reset. Feet to the mat, head and shoulders back to the mat. Arms are going to come nice and long down by your side. A couple pelvic tilts just to decompress the low back. We're going to exhale to tilt back, drawing navel to spine, pressing through the feet, firing up the hamstring at the back of the upper leg. And roll back to neutral. 2 more. Arms are reaching long. We're going to float that right foot just up off of the mat, and on the inhale, the right leg reaches out, nice and straight, hovering there just above the mat, and draw it back, heel to hip. As if you're sliding the foot, the toe, or the heel along the mat, creating that nice smooth glide, that extension of the leg out of the hip. 2 more with that right leg, reaching out straight and long, keeping that connection at the hip to the rib. And we plant the foot, reaching the arms out. Float that left foot and lengthen. Exhale to bend the knee, drawing the heel back, and inhale to reach. One more with that left leg, stretching out nice and long. And slow to reset. Take a moment to reset the spine. Fingers are going to interlace once again, hands back behind the head. We'll fold and lift the head, neck, and chest. Slide those shoulders down, let the head fall back into the hand. And we're going to bring that right leg to tabletop, lift it up towards the ceiling, nice long leg, pointed toe. And we inhale to lower. And exhale to lift. Nice and smooth transition, moving that leg in the hip. Reaching out straight, reaching out long. One more, right side. And bending the knee, reset the foot. We'll drop the shoulders, drop the head back for a reset. And next, exhale, fold along the mid-ribs, lift the chest, let the head fall back to the hands as the left leg comes to tabletop. Extending that left leg long towards the ceiling, and we inhale to lower and exhale to lift. Stretching that left leg out nice and long, building that tension out of the hip all the way down the leg through the foot. Last 2. And we'll bend the knee, plant the foot, curl and roll back. Arms come out long to that T position, out to your sides. We'll bring our knees to tabletop. We'll cross our ankles. Let's go right over left. And on our next inhale, we're going to twist along the mid-ribs to transfer the legs to the right side. Anchor that left shoulder and exhale back to center. Legs, hips, and the lower half of your spine twist to the left as you anchor the right shoulder, twisting through the mid-ribs. And exhale back. Inhale right and exhale center. Inhale left and exhale center. We'll change our cross. Left ankle crosses right and inhale to the right. Using that exhale to draw the abdominals in as you come back to your midline. Trying not to flare the ribs as you draw back to center. Last one to the left. And we'll hug knees to the chest. Uncross the ankles. The left leg is going to reach out long across your mat to the floor as you pull that right knee towards the chest and shoulder. Left hand to that right knee, it's going to cross your center line. The right arm, palm up, goes out to your T. We're going to add a rotation. So the back is going to rotate, the hip is going to rotate to the left, And you're going to look out over that right shoulder, that right arm, feeling that deeper stretch through that right hip. And back to center. Changing to the other side, the right leg extends out nice and long. We draw that left knee in towards the chest. Right hand to that left knee. It comes cross body as the left arm opens out to the T. Lower half twists to the right as you look out over that left shoulder. One more breath. And we come back to neutral. Arms return out to that T position with palms up. We'll bring our knees to tabletop. We're going to work a modified corkscrew. So we start in tabletop. We're going to shift to the right hip. Legs move to the right, twisting through the mid-ribs. Once we're on that right pocket, legs reach forward about halfway and then sweep across center. Over and onto that left hip, we pull knees back to that 90-degree bend at the hip and transfer back to tabletop, back to center. Reversing directions, we inhale to transfer to the left hip. Reach halfway forward with legs, keeping a little bit of a knee bend. We sweep across the center, over and onto that right hip. Draw the knees back in. Recreate that bend at the hip, that flexion, and back to center. Returning to that center tabletop. Alternating directions each time. Reaching out. Keeping a nice little bend in the knee. Finding that rotation coming from the mid-ribs, from the mid-back. As we rock from pocket to pocket. Across the sacrum. One more each side. And we hug knees to the chest. Reach for the toes, knees draw apart, shoulder width. Grab for the back of the legs or the foot and draw down, flattening the spine, flattening the back against the mat, and we rock from hip to hip. One more breath. And legs to tabletop. Arms reach up long overhead, palms up towards the ceiling. And on the exhale, arms flow forward. We lift the head, neck, and chest. Hold that lift. Legs reach forward, straight out over the mat. Legs open, close. Reset to tabletop and upper body transitions back to the mat. Reaching up nice and long, we flow forward, back into that lifted chest and reach forward with the legs. Legs open, close. Making sure the legs are very straight. We're building that tension out of the hip, reaching forward nice and long before we work that opening. Last two. breaking it up segment by segment, hitting each piece of the movement nice and strong. Holding at tabletop, arms reach up nice and long over the head, then draw knees to the chest, rounding the back, imprinting the low back down against the mat, reaching up farther with the arms, and hands transfer to the shins, dropping the heels down towards the hips. We're going to lift the head, neck, and chest, fold in a little deeper, reach for the back of the thighs, and we're going to give a little lift and pop up into our hold position, dropping those shoulders down, floating the legs in tabletop. Shoulders slide down, we hinge back just a little, lift the chest, stretch the spine long, and when you're ready, arms come off the legs and we hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet drop, returning to that butterfly stretch, we'll round the back, bringing the forehead towards the feet, letting the knees fall to the floor. Nice deep breaths. 2 more. And we'll curl and restack. We're going to transfer onto our left side for some side lying leg lifts. We're going to stack the legs, and we'll have a little bit of bend at the hip, a little bit of flexion, so our feet, our legs are coming forward to the front edge of your mat while your torso's lined up somewhat in the center. Rest your head to your bicep, laying here on your left side. We're going to float that right leg up off of the left, draw the abdominals in, and then on the exhale, bring that bottom left leg up and lower. Working that adduction, that inner thigh engagement as we bring the left leg up to meet the right. Three, 2, 1. Coming up onto the forearm, elbow right underneath the shoulder. We'll float that right leg up, and we're going to make little circles. We're going to bring the right leg forward, reach up and slightly back, and come forward again at the bottom, up and back. Shoulders slide down, try to stabilize the spine and the torso as that right leg moves. And we'll change directions, reaching back with that right leg at the bottom, coming up and forward. Allowing that movement to come from the leg inside the hip. One more. And we'll flip over face down. Forehead to the back of the hands, reaching the legs nice and long. Little separation between the legs to give yourself some space. And we're going to inhale to reach that right leg up into extension and slow to lower back to the mat. Alternate sides. Inhale, left leg lifts and lowers. Right side lifts and lowers. Nice and smooth. Transitioning from leg to leg. Trying not to twist the back or tip the hips from side to side. Last one to the left. And hands come to the chest, toes curl under, we peel up. Sit back and stretch towards the heels. Dropping the chest down towards the knees, towards the mat. And then we'll round the spine. curling and coming forward. We want to set our hands, our wrists right underneath our shoulders. Walk the knees forward, slightly under the hips, and we're going to curl the toes under, staying in this quadruped position. When you're ready, when you feel stable, we're going to pop the knees, pop the shins up off of the mat, working this hover position. Nice flat back. Little lift of the tailbone towards the ceiling to keep that neutral sway in the low back. And we're pushing up nice and strong, away from the mat, away from the floor. And we're breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dropping those knees, sitting back, stretching nice and long forward. Palms are going to start down on the mat, and then we're going to rotate the arms, twisting the arms in the shoulder to transition to palms up. Back of the hand to the mat, stretching along the lap, and then arms twist in the shoulder to go palm down. And twist, rotate the arm from the shoulder to allow the rest of the arm to follow, and transition that hand to palm up. Try not to twist at the elbow joint. We want all the movement to come from the upper arm in the shoulder to stretch to the lap. One more. And next exhale, we're going to curl and roll up. We're going to come on to this right side. Torso's lined up about in the center of your mat with legs and feet moving towards the front edge. And right arm is straight out with your head resting on the bicep. We float that left leg, engage the abdominals, and bottom right leg lifts and lowers. Single leg lifts, working that inner thigh, working that adduction. And 3, 2, 1. Coming up onto the forearm of that right arm. Bottom right leg is still straight. We're going to float that left leg, working our forward circles. Leg comes forward, reaches up and back, and through. Allowing that movement to come from the hip. Reaching the leg out. One more. And then we'll change directions. Reaching back, up and forward. Drawing the abdominals in, creating that stability through the spine. One more. And we'll flip over face down. Arms come out to a T position, reaching long away from you, floating the face up off the mat, and inhale, chest lifts. Engaging the glutes, drawing the abs in to protect the low back as we work that thoracic extension. Upper back only is lifting, feeling that pressure at the base of the shoulder blades. We inhale to lift, and exhale to lower. Three, 2, and 1. Bending the knees, bringing the heels towards the hips. Try to reach back and grab for your foot, grab for the ankle or maybe your pant leg. And dropping the face towards the mat, just working that stretch, pressing the pelvis down as you draw the ribs and the abdominals in. Stretching along the front of the thigh. If you feel strong in this position, easy mobility, you can work into our bow stretch, and on the inhale, we're gonna lift. Knees come up, chest comes up, we stretch and extend the spine, and then lower. Pushing the feet into your hands as you lift, and slow to lower. Last 2. the chest, toes curl under, we peel up, round the back, sit back, pull the knees apart. Give some space for the chest to drop down through the thighs, through the knees as you reach overhead nice and long. And right hand is going to lace under that left arm. Drop that right shoulder to the mat. Try to drop your right ear to the mat as well. And we rotate through the mid-ribs to look out underneath that left arm. One more breath. And we unwind. Left arm laces under and through. Dropping that left shoulder down, left ear to the mat. Rotate and stretch. Unwind, reset. Arms reach up nice and long overhead. We curl and restack. Coming nice and tall, let's finish with our kneeling lunge stretch, which you could also do standing to stay off that bottom knee. Right foot comes forward. We're working that lunge, squaring off the hips and the legs, and then we're going to drive the hips forward, pressing that right knee towards the toes. Drop the shoulders. Ribs and abs knit in, nice and strong. Three, two, one. Reaching back. Hands to the mat as we switch sides. Right knee under the hip. Left foot comes forward. Try to square off as best you can. And hips press forward. Left knee over the toes. Dropping those shoulders down with ribs and abdominals drawing in, pressing down through the heel. Five, four, three, two, one. Coming back, both knees down, sitting to the heels. We'll reach the arms once again long overhead, fingers interlace. Reaching the arms towards the ceiling, we reach up and over to the right. And back to center. Stretch and lengthen up towards the ceiling and to the left. Back to center. And arms come down by your side. All right, guys. Awesome work today. Nice job.